Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our politics panel on the big city mayoral races and the outcome of the Wyant investigation. But first, stuck at an impasse.
In the face of such inflexibility, teachers have no choice but to continue strike action.
The ATA the leadership needs to understand that there's, what's the phrase, more than one way to peel a potato.
Comments in the wake of a letter calling on teachers to return to classrooms this week and not initiate further strike action until November 20th. The province's letter stated the two parties would enter an enhanced mediation process, and further that the mediator's recommendations cannot provide for hard caps on classroom sizes or student-teacher ratios. Joining us now, Peter MacKay, a teacher from Grand Prairie, former lead as well, lead negotiator for the Alberta Teachers Association. Mr. MacKay, good to see you, sir. Welcome to Alberta Primetime.
Thanks very much for having me.
Okay, well, most Albertans know we're now into week 3 of the strike. But what's preventing the resumption of bargaining as you see it?
Honestly, I think this lies entirely with the province. Teachers have been very clear that we need some kind of a remedy for the years of underfunding. We've been the least funded for the better part of 10 years in the entire country. And that, along with an influx of new students into the province, has left us with classroom conditions that are just out of control. And in particular, class sizes and class complexity in many places, especially in our cities. But really, it affects everyone across the province. And there needs to be some remedies. And the government, honestly, the government won't even commit to counting class sizes, which indicates to me that they are not taking this seriously.
This element of enhanced mediation, as was proposed in the government's letter, how has that landed with teachers?
Well, I mean, it seems like kind of an Orwellian use of the word enhanced, because by enhanced, it seems like they're taking things off the table that we can no longer talk about, or that we can't be spoken about in the mediation process. That doesn't seem like an enhancement. That seems like a limitation. And the government seems adamant that that's the only type of mediation they're willing to engage in. So teachers, I don't think teachers are in any way interested in that. We want to have negotiations, open negotiations where we can talk about the issues as we see them. We're certainly, we have not walked away from the table. My understanding is that it was teachers who put a proposal on the table. The government responded with this offer of, as they call it, I think insincerely, enhanced mediation. And now we're just in a stare down. And of course, we've got 750,000 students waiting for this, for the government to move.
A cap on class sizes, somewhat of a central theme here. Why would such a cap be necessary when the government has committed to hiring 3,000 more teachers and another 1,500 education assistants, and still as well promising to follow through on construction of more schools?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think everyone understands that any kind of improvement in terms of class conditions would require hiring. The government's not wrong in that regard. So we're certainly not opposed to the idea of hiring. And we recognize that hiring is a necessary first step here. But the absolute opposition to even talk about the goal of that hiring and trying to reach a place where teachers can teach effectively, where students can learn effectively, we have to be able to talk about the classroom conditions and the extent to which complexity and the number of special needs students in the classroom and the number just of bodies in the classroom has gotten completely out of control. But the fact they just will not talk about it is extremely frustrating for myself, and I think for very, very many teachers across this province.
If I could ask, what kind of difference is there in working conditions when you compare the rural education dynamic with that of what teachers face in the larger urban centers in the cities?
There are difficulties in both. Like one of the problems, and I grew up in rural Alberta. I taught much of my career in rural Alberta. I'm in Grand Prairie now. But one of the problems in rural Alberta is attracting teachers, first of all. But another problem is that you have, I think everyone knows rural Alberta is kind of shrinking as a percentage of population. But what you end up with is multi-graded classrooms. I'm in Grand Prairie and I teach a split. I knew one person who was teaching 11 different curriculum in a single classroom, which is almost impossible to do. It wasn't a very large number of students, as I recall. I think the person said they had 16 or 17 students. But I'm not sure how you're supposed to, do anything but just shuffle back and forth and touch base for a couple of minutes with each student. So rural Alberta has its own problems with sort of what I would call curricular complexity. But the urban, my daughter teaches in Calgary, and I know several of her friends, and the large centers, Edmonton and Calgary, and kind of the donuts around each. Those folks have incredible class sizes, unmanageably large, incredible complexity. So things are tough all across the province. But part of the reason why we need a government that commits to do that, at least minimal commitment to counting, class size, class complexity. We need to understand how this problem manifests itself in different places, but they will not even do that.
Okay, I have to ask, how do teachers feel about the looming threat of being legislated back to work?
I think teachers are sort of back and forth between enraged. Some, I think, honestly feel dispirited after all this. That for the government to go through all of this and at the very end just not be willing to engage at any point in sincere negotiations to address the problems that we brought forward, allowing students to be out all this time, and then at the time when they were coming back into the legislature, if this was their intention, why didn't they call an emergency session of the legislature? Like, to do it this way seems so kind of callous and uncaring and honestly cruel, both to students and unbelievably offensive to teachers. I think teachers are enraged.
You mentioned the legislature. Another major rally planned for the Ledge on Thursday, the day of the speech from the throne?
Yeah, and I know a great number. I'm up in Grand Prairie, but I know there's going to be a lot of people from around the province making their way there. People arranging buses, transportation. I'm certainly going to be there as my wife, and I think it'll be very loud outside the Ledge.
All right, Mr. MacKay, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time this evening. Thank you kindly.
Okay, thanks so much.
That was Peter MacKay, a teacher from Grand Prairie and former lead negotiator for the Alberta Teachers Association.